Welcome to today's deep dive, and we're going to be taking a look at this company, MicroCloud Hologram.
MicroCloud Hologram.
HOLO, if you're looking them up on the Nasdaq Q.
Right.
And they're doing some really interesting things with holograms and quantum computing, which is already like a really cool combination.
It's a fascinating space right now
Yeah.
to see that kind of convergence.
But what's even more fascinating is the stack of sources that we have that hint that there might be even more to the story than meets the eye.
Yeah, and it's a pretty diverse set of information that we've got.
Yeah.
We've got financial reports, we've got news articles, we've got market predictions, even some pieces that are speculating about, what this could mean for different industries.
It's almost overwhelming.
It is a lot.
It's like, where do we even begin?
Right.
So that's kind of where we come in.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
we're going to try to break it down,
Make sense of it all.
make sense of it all. And I think a really good place to start is this whole thing with the stock price.
Okay.
So the stock price itself, it jumped to $6.43 share.
Yeah.
Which, on its own isn't that crazy. But that's after the trading volume on December 31st.
Oh, wow.
Shot up to 125 million shares.
Yeah.
Which is a 1,200% increase.
That's a huge spike.
Huge spike.
Yeah.
Clearly something is making people very excited.
Definitely got people's attention.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's interesting that you bring that up because this surge seems to have happened right around when they announced a major breakthrough in their quantum computing division.
That's right.
So they've developed this new protocol that achieves 99% state fidelity using heavy whole spin qubits.
Now I realize that probably sounds like a bunch of jargon to a lot of people.
Yeah, for the non-quantum physicists among us.
Yeah.
And what does that actually mean and why should we care?
Okay, so think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine you're trying to build something complex out of Legos, but the pieces are constantly shaking and wobbling.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like working with a lot of the quantum computers that are out there right now.
Got it.
This new protocol that MicroCloud has developed, it's like having perfectly steady hands.
Okay.
So it makes their quantum computers incredibly accurate and reliable.
So they've essentially just stabilized the building blocks,
Yeah.
which makes the whole structure way more stable and reliable.
Exactly.
That's got to be a big deal in the quantum world, right?
It's huge.
Yeah.
This level of fidelity puts them way ahead of the curve in quantum computing. And I think that's a big part of what's catching the eye of investors right now.
So it makes sense why investors are excited.
Yeah.
But where do holograms fit into all of this?
Well, it seems like MicroCloud is aiming for both a business and a consumer market.
Okay.
There are some reports out there
Mm-hmm.
that suggest they're working on deals with major retail chains to integrate holographic displays into stores.
So like imagine walking into your favorite clothing store and instead of mannequins,
Right.
you're seeing holographic models showing off the latest styles.
It's like a fashion show right there in the store.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
It could be a really cool way to experience shopping in a whole new way.
Are they going to be just like a tech supplier for other companies, or are they going to have their own consumer products?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And that's actually something that analysts are debating right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of up in the air.
Okay.
But, they're also developing augmented reality software for educational purposes.
Oh, yeah.
So we might be looking at holographic teachers leading virtual classrooms pretty soon.
That's both amazing and kind of terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, a little bit of both for sure.
But let's
A little bit of both.
let's get back to the stock for a second.
Okay.
So you mentioned investors are excited,
Yeah.
but some of the sources are kind of waving some red flags about MicroCloud, especially when you look at the technical indicators.
Yeah. There are some mixed signals coming from the market. It's like a traffic light where some lights are green and some lights are red.
Exactly.
So like, for example, there's short-term and long-term moving averages,
Right.
which kind of tell you the general direction the stock price has been trending.
Yeah, it gives you the overall trend.
Those are pointing down.
They are.
So even with all this excitement, the stock price has actually been dropping overall
Yeah.
in the bigger picture.
That seems counterintuitive.
It does. It does. But that's why it's important to look at multiple indicators. So another one is the mass ED, and that's also flashing red,
Okay.
which usually means there's still downward pressure on the stock price.
So we've got two reds,
Two reds.
but then there's this other thing called the RSI,
Right,
which measures how quickly and dramatically the price is changing.
right. Kind of the momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's saying that the stock might be nearing what's called oversold territory.
So that could mean that it's a good time to buy?
Like it's on sale,
Potentially.
like a clearance sale.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems like a good thing.
It could be.
if you're looking to buy,
Yeah, if you're looking for a deal,
yeah.
it's definitely something to consider.
So we've got a potential bargain on a company that's making groundbreaking advancements in two huge tech sectors.
Right.
But then there's also this question of their financial health.
Mm-hmm.
Their latest earnings report
Yeah.
shows over $203 million in revenue.
Which is impressive.
But they're still operating at a loss.
That's right.
Why is that?
Well, it's important to remember that they're investing heavily in cutting-edge technology,
Okay.
and that costs a lot of money up front.
So they're spending a lot to grow.
Yeah, they're playing the long game.
It's like they're building the spaceship while they're already in orbit,
Exactly.
which is kind of cool, but also kind of crazy.
It's a bold strategy.
It is a bold strategy.
Yeah.
But it makes it even more intriguing to analyze.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears a bit and look at the bigger economic picture, because even the coolest tech can be affected by what's happening in the market overall, right?
For sure, the macro environment always plays a role.
So some of our sources are pointing to some interesting things happening in the broader economy that could impact MicroCloud.
Okay.
For example, a lot of analysts are predicting that the stock market will continue to grow, with projections of the S&P 500 rising 10% in 2025.
So that's a pretty bullish outlook.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's also talk of the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates,
Right.
which usually means more money flowing into the market,
Yeah, it tends to make things a little bit looser,
especially for tech stocks.
especially for growth stocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be really good news for a company like MicroCloud.
It could definitely give them a boost.
But hold on.
Uh-oh.
Some sources are also predicting a market correction in 2025.
Which is not uncommon after a period of sustained growth.
Potentially even a 10 to 15% drop.
Yeah, that's a significant correction.
It is. Yeah. So it's like, on one hand, we've got this potential tech boom,
Right.
which would be great news for companies like MicroCloud.
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
Oh.
we've got this shadow of a market correction looming.
Yeah. The possibility is always there.
My head is spinning.
It's a lot to take in, for sure.
It is.
But I think what makes MicroCloud so fascinating
Yeah.
is that it forces us to think beyond just the stock price
Yeah.
and consider the larger implications of these emerging technologies.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
we have.
but we're just getting started.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
We're going to take a break and come back to dive even deeper into the potential of MicroCloud,
Okay.
the challenges they face,
Yeah,
and what it all means for the future of tech and beyond.
it's going to be good.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Can't wait.
Welcome back to the deep dive on MicroCloud Hologram. Before the break, we were talking about the potential for an economic boom and how that could impact MicroCloud's growth, but also how a market correction could throw a wrench in the gears.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap our heads around.
It really is.
A lot of moving parts.
So let's talk about those potential interest rate cuts again.
Okay.
Our sources suggested that could lead to like a surge in tech investment,
Right.
which seems like it would be good news for a company like MicroCloud.
Yeah, lower interest rates typically make it easier for companies to borrow money
Uh-huh.
and for investors to seek out higher returns,
Right.
which often leads them to growth-oriented sectors like tech.
But it's not all smooth sailing, right?
Well, there are always risks.
Some analysts are predicting that even with this potential surge, there's also the possibility of a market correction in 2025.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind.
One article even mentioned a potential drop of 10 to 15%.
It's a good reminder that diversification is key for any investor.
Okay.
Even if you believe in a company's long-term potential,
Right.
it's smart to balance your portfolio
Got it.
with other types of investments.
So we've got this potential tech boom on one hand and the shadow of a market correction looming on the other.
Right, a balancing act.
What other major factors are shaping the tech landscape that our listeners should be aware of?
Well, one of the biggest factors is the incredible pace of technological advancement.
Yeah.
I mean, breakthroughs in fields like artificial intelligence, machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, quantum computing are happening faster than ever before.
It's like Moore's Law is in overdrive.
It really is.
Remember that old saying about technology doubling in power every 2 years?
Yeah.
It feels like it's happening even faster now.
It does.
And this rapid innovation
Right.
creates both incredible opportunities and serious challenges for companies like MicroCloud.
Absolutely.
So on one hand, they have to stay ahead of the curve, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, they can't afford to fall behind.
But at the same time, they have to be strategic about which technologies they focus on
Right.
and how those technologies can be integrated into actual products and services that people will want to use.
It has to be practical.
Yeah.
It can't just be theoretical.
And then there's the constantly evolving regulatory landscape that we touched on earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Governments around the world are struggling to keep up with these emerging technologies.
They are.
And the rules of the game are changing all the time.
It's a moving target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no wonder this whole landscape feels so complex.
It is a lot to keep track of.
It is.
And this is where things get really interesting when you consider the potential convergence of quantum computing and blockchain technology.
Okay. Yeah.
So some experts believe that quantum computing could revolutionize blockchain security and make it even more scalable,
Okay.
while others worry that quantum computers could actually be used to break the cryptography that protects blockchains.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
It is.
Yeah. So this makes staying informed about regulations even more important.
Absolutely.
Companies like MicroCloud need to be proactive about talking to regulators
Right.
and helping shape the conversation around how these technologies are governed.
It's not enough to just be brilliant engineers.
No.
You also have to understand the legal and ethical implications
Right.
of what you're building.
Okay, so we've established that MicroCloud is operating in this really complex and dynamic environment.
Right.
But let's zoom in a bit.
Okay.
What are some of the specific challenges and opportunities they're facing right now?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, as we mentioned earlier, is profitability.
Uh-huh.
They're generating a lot of revenue,
Yeah, over $200 million.
but they're still operating at a loss.
Right.
And some analysts are skeptical that they can turn a profit anytime soon,
Yeah.
especially considering the massive investments they're making in research and development.
It's a legitimate concern, but it's also worth noting that a lot of successful tech companies, especially those pioneering new fields, operate at a loss for years while they build their market share and perfect their products.
It's like Amazon back in the early days of e-commerce.
Right.
They were losing money hand over fist,
Oh, yeah?
but they kept investing and building until they became the giant they are today.
Exactly.
So while profitability is definitely a challenge for MicroCloud,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a deal breaker.
Especially when you consider their potential in two emerging markets.
Right. They're playing the long game.
Speaking of those markets, let's talk about competition.
Okay.
The tech industry is notoriously competitive, right?
It's cutthroat.
There must be tons of other companies vying for a piece of the holographic and quantum computing pie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've seen huge companies like Microsoft, Google, and IBM all investing heavily in quantum computing.
Yeah.
And in the holographic space, companies like Magic Leap and Looking Glass Factory are making some pretty impressive strides.
So MicroCloud can't just rest on its laurels.
No, they have to keep pushing forward.
They have to keep innovating.
Yeah.
But they also have to differentiate themselves.
Right.
They need to show investors and customers why they're the best bet.
It's all about execution at the end of the day.
And that's where there's strategic partnerships.
Yeah.
And focus on specific applications like retail and education
Right.
could give them a real advantage.
Yeah, by focusing on those niche markets early on, they can build a strong foundation before the bigger players move in.
Okay, so that's smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but what about the opportunities?
Okay.
What are some of the things that could really propel MicroCloud forward?
Well, the most obvious opportunity is the sheer size of the potential market for holographic and quantum computing technologies.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about industries that could be worth trillions of dollars in the coming years.
Trillions.
Trillions with a T.
Wow. That's almost impossible to comprehend.
It is mind-boggling.
Just imagine the possibilities. Holographic displays could revolutionize entertainment, healthcare,
Even how we design and build things.
Right.
It's really limitless.
and quantum computing could transform fields like drug discovery, material science, financial modeling.
It's really about the potential applications of that technology.
Right.
And how those applications could reshape entire industries.
It's not just about the technology itself.
Exactly.
It's about how that technology is applied
It's the use case.
and how it impacts the world around us.
And that's another area where MicroCloud seems to be taking the right approach. They're not just developing technology for technology's sake. They're thinking about how these innovations can be used to solve real-world problems and improve people's lives.
They're not just building a faster race car. They're thinking about where that race car will drive,
That's a great analogy.
who will be in it, and what the impact of that journey will be.
Yeah, they're thinking about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it highlights why their focus on user experience is so important.
Absolutely.
It's not just about building the best quantum computer or the most realistic hologram.
Right.
It's about making those technologies accessible and easy to use for the average person.
Yeah, it has to be user-friendly.
It does.
Otherwise, it's not going to get adopted.
Right.
It's going to be a niche thing.
So it's about integration.
Yeah.
Making sure these technologies work seamlessly within the systems and processes that we already use every day.
That's key.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot the broader tech landscape,
Uh-huh.
the challenges and opportunities facing MicroCloud,
Right.
and the potential impact of these emerging technologies.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But I think the main takeaway
Yeah.
is that MicroCloud is at the forefront of something big.
Yeah.
But the road ahead is anything but certain.
It's going to be a wild ride.
It is.
But before we get too caught up in the excitement, I think it's important to step back and consider some of the potential downsides of these technologies.
Uh-huh.
What are the risks?
Yeah.
The ethical concerns?
Yeah.
The unintended consequences we should be thinking about?
That's a crucial point and one that's often overlooked.
Yeah.
In the rush to embrace the new and shiny.
It's like opening a mysterious box.
Yeah.
It could contain amazing treasures,
Mm-hmm.
but also some things that we might wish we hadn't unleashed.
Exactly. We need to be mindful of the potential negative impacts, both on individuals and on society as a whole.
So let's shift gears a bit for the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to explore this darker side of innovation,
The shadow
the
side
shadow side.
of all this progress.
Join us as we delve into the ethical considerations, potential risks,
Mm-hmm.
and unintended consequences of a world increasingly shaped by holographic and quantum technologies.
It's going to be a fascinating discussion.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been kind of exploring all the exciting things happening with MicroCloud Hologram, their quantum computing breakthroughs and potential partnerships, even how the overall economy might give them a boost. But as we wrap up, I think it's important to consider the potential downsides, the things that might not be so rosy about a future filled with holographic and quantum technology.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or bad. And with technology, this potentially transformative, the implications are huge. Even if MicroCloud has the best intentions, we need to be aware of the possible unintended consequences.
Right. One of the sources we read just briefly touched on this whole idea of holographic technology, blurring the lines between reality and simulation. It really got me thinking, how will we know what's real anymore when we're surrounded by these incredibly lifelike holographic projections?
That's a really important question and one that I don't think we have a clear answer to yet. I mean, imagine a world where holographic deepfakes are so convincing you can't tell them apart from actual footage. It could completely undermine trust in media and the news, even our own memories.
It's already hard enough to sift through all the misinformation online, and now you're adding hyper-realistic holograms to the mix. It feels like we're stepping into a world where reality itself is up for grabs.
It's not hyperbole. It's a real concern, and that's why we need to start thinking now about how to prepare for this. Can we develop ways to verify the authenticity of holographic content? Do we need new regulations to deal with holographic deepfakes? These are questions we can't ignore.
It feels overwhelming, but I also think it's exciting. Like we're on the cusp of this uncharted territory, and we get to help shape what it becomes.
I think that's the right attitude to have. It's not just about reacting to problems. It's about proactively creating solutions. And speaking of potential problems, there's the whole issue of privacy with holographic technology. Our sources didn't really go into much detail on this, but it seems like a huge can of worms.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Imagine security cameras that can record and project 3D holographic images of people without their knowledge or consent. It's like something out of a dystopian sci-fi film, but it doesn't feel so far-fetched now.
It's definitely within the realm of possibility, which is why we need to start thinking about strong privacy regulations that are specific to holographic technology. People need to have control over their own holographic data and how it's collected and used.
It is a bit unsettling to think about, but we also can't forget about the impact on our relationships with each other. Could we become so used to interacting with holographic representations of people that we lose the ability to connect on a deeper level in the real world?
I mean, that's a valid concern, too. Holographic technology has the potential to create truly immersive experiences. But there's a risk that it could lead to a kind of social isolation. People might retreat into virtual worlds populated by holographic companions instead of engaging in real-life interactions.
It's like social media taken to the next level. Instead of just scrolling through feeds, we're having full-blown conversations with holographic avatars. It can be incredibly isolating.
And that's why it's so important to remember that technology isn't inherently good or bad. It's how we use it that matters. We need to be mindful of the potential downsides of holographic technology and make conscious choices about how we integrate it into our lives.
I like that it's about balance, enjoying the benefits of this incredible technology without letting it replace real human connection now onto the other big game changer, quantum computing.
Right. This is where things get really interesting and potentially scary, because the ethical implications of quantum computing are even more far-reaching and difficult to grasp. We're talking about a technology that could crack the encryption that protects our online data, revolutionize drug discovery, even change our fundamental understanding of the universe.
Okay, I'm officially in over my head. Where do we even begin to unpack the ethical implications of something that powerful?
Well, I think a good place to start is cybersecurity. Quantum computers are so powerful that they could theoretically break the encryption that protects everything from our online banking transactions to government secrets.
Hmm.
It's a huge threat that cybersecurity experts are already trying to get ahead of.
So it's a race against time, develop new quantum-resistant encryption before someone with bad intentions gets their hands on a powerful enough quantum computer.
It is, and even if we solve that problem, there's still the question of access. Who gets to control this incredibly powerful technology? Will it be available to everyone, or will it be concentrated in the hands of a few governments and corporations? These are big questions that we need to be asking now.
It feels like we're at the beginning of something truly momentous, like we're standing at the edge of a new era, and these technologies have the power to fundamentally reshape our world, for better or worse.
And that's why it's so important to approach these technologies with a sense of awe and possibility, but also with a healthy dose of caution. We need to ask hard questions about the ethical implications, the potential risks, the long-term consequences of the choices we make today.
I couldn't agree more so. As we wrap up this deep dive into MicroCloud Hologram, I hope we've given you a lot to think about. It's not just about a single company or even a single technology. It's about how we as a society choose to navigate this incredibly exciting and potentially treacherous new landscape.
We've explored the possibilities, the challenges, the potential pitfalls. Now it's your turn, dear listener, to continue the exploration. What stood out to you the most? What questions do you have? Do some more research. Talk to your friends. The future is not predetermined. It's something we create together through our choices and actions.
And that's what the deep dive is all about, sparking curiosity, encouraging critical thinking, and giving you the information you need to navigate this complex world. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning. Until next time.